All right. Well, very good. Aaron, thank you for joining us today. And we're very anxious in a good way to learn a little bit more about you and your business. So why don't we start with that? Tell us about you and your business and maybe how long you've been at it.
Well, my name's Aaron Shoemaker. My current business is called Rheba. It's the retirement home entertainment booking application. And we have actually only been incorporated since December. I spent a lot of time after graduated from Creighton in 2009. That was during the Great Recession. So either you didn't have a job or you created a job. I opted to create a job, and I started becoming an entrepreneur in the world of music and entertainment and technology. And I was doing that for years and years and years until COVID hit, and I lost all my business overnight. I had been entertaining in a lot of retirement homes. We had the #1 wedding band in the area. We did a lot of kids shows, that sort of thing. And so those companies just kind of went away. And so I started switching gears during the COVID time, and I got into producing online content, television shows, and eventually got into metaverse, 360 technology and programming. And as this last year, things started opening up a little bit more. So I decided I'd go back to some of the retirement homes to supplement my income in between contracts. Because as an entrepreneur, sometimes you'll get a contract and it's really good. And sometimes you get a contract and it takes a while to actually get paid from that contract. So you need ways to be able to stay afloat during that. And so I started reaching out to the retirement homes again. And while I was doing that, contacted some other musicians that I know. And I said, hey, if I get a hold of activity directors, why don't I book you too? Because it's really hard to get a hold of everything. And they said, great. And then I contacted my business partner now, Adam Trebnikov. And I said, Adam, hey, can we get a website created for this? He said, yeah, sure, sure. Then we started talking about it, and we realized that we could change the whole way things are done, and we could automate this process. And we set out to do just that, to create an application that automates the process of booking entertainment for retirement homes. It's a very specific niche, but what it does is we get musicians in an area, and we get their availability. When are you available? We don't necessarily need to know what's going on in your calendar. We just need to know when you're available. And then on the activity director side, they can simply choose a date and a time, and they can see exactly who's available in their area at that time and book them through the application. Really easy. And it takes a process. It's about 5 months of booking time down to about 5 minutes. And
Wow.
so that's where we're at right now, and we should be hopefully launching the application in this next week in the beta version. So we'll be getting it out to the homes. We've got about 16 musicians that are on our roster currently in Omaha, Des Moines, and Lincoln, and Sioux City as well. And we have about 70 homes we're working with, and when we launch the application, that's going to be a big part of getting them converted to a digital application, getting them to be able to work with it on their phones, work with it on their desktop, that sort of thing, and make it incredibly easy to book and save everybody time.
Love it. Love it. So what would you attribute this growth to during that time? You weren't able to do some things the way you'd always done them. And then during COVID, you had to pivot.
Yeah.
What took you to that place of the new level of creativity?
I'm always looking for what is the next thing, what can I do next. COVID was also something where I'd kind of reached the pinnacle of what I could do in that field. I'm one guy, I can only do so much. And then when it came to doing the 360 stuff and the metaverse stuff, so if you've ever seen virtual tours or VR goggles, we started working with producing those sort of things. And really, part of it's having family, to be honest with you. Maybe a lot of it's having a family. I got kids. I got 4 kids. I can't sit there and feel sorry for myself. And well, you can to a point. Don't get me wrong. If anybody's watching this and you have something happen, take it in, experience it, and you could feel sorry for yourself for a little bit. But after a while, you have to get back up and you just have to move one step at a time. And I try to share this with my daughter, and she'll roll her eyes at me. You know, she'll be like, "My room's so messy." I'm like, "Don't think about cleaning up your room. Think about cleaning up that piece of trash on the floor." And so it's all about breaking it down one little piece at a time and doing that piece, no matter how you feel. You know, you may not feel like doing it. You may not feel okay. Well, just break it down and do that next little thing. And I guarantee you, you're going to come out of a feeling depressed or come out of feeling down about yourself or anything like that. But if you do little things while you're in that state, you'll come out the other side and go, wow, I got a lot of stuff done that I wouldn't have otherwise if I would have just sat there. If I would have waited till when I feel good to go get stuff done. By just focusing and marching a step at a time, you'd be amazed what you can accomplish.
That's great insight to share for sure. I'm just curious, if you were to start your business all over again from square one, what insights or learnings, or what might you do differently, or exactly do what you did do?
Yeah, I have kind of done that, and I've had to learn, new things as I do that, and starting in different fields. So when I started doing the 360 stuff and I started doing contracts to work for people, if you're going to do contract work, be very specific on your contracts and have deadlines, because you can get a contract with somebody, say you're doing a job for them and you get 50% down. Well, that's great. But if you don't stipulate in that contract, there's a time period, then you can be out, your employees can be out, everybody can be out, because what can happen is that company you did a contract with can be like, well, I got them kind of on retainer, but that's not how it works for you. You're about getting that in, getting it done so you can move on. And then what ends up happening, I've gotten caught up into, is that down the line, they're like, well, I'm ready. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm working on this other contract because you guys took so long. And so being very clear and stipulating that stuff. And the other thing I would say, that you can only plan so much, right? You can plan so much, and then so you can sit there and say, these are going to be our policies for business, X, Y, and Z. Then when you get into the wild, you'll start to realize, okay, we need to adjust this policy a little bit. It needs to be like this. We ran into stuff where it's like, okay, we can think about what do we have to do if we got to put a musician on probation, because they're missing gigs or they're not responsive. But until it happens, we don't really have that solid. And then once it does happen, we make sure to take the time to document what happened, and say, all right, this is going to be our process going forward. And now we have that process. So there are certain things, like, you can plan for everything, but there's certain things you just have to experience, and then you can start to, determine your policy, essentially.
Very good. Very good. You mentioned your family, right? So
Yep.
what have you found to be effective to integrate both your professional life and your personal life? What would you share about that?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. I'm 39. I work from home. I've got a basement office. And that can be challenging because my little girls do not see the boundary, right? They think daddy's down there, I could just go down there. So there will be plenty of times I'm on a Zoom call or something like that, and my 3-year-old's coming up and saying, I can't find my toy. And that happens a lot. But I do also like that. I do like that I can take a break. I can go upstairs. There's my girls. They're homeschooled through the Omaha Virtual School Program, so they're usually there during the day. I get to take them to stuff. I try to find that balance, but it can be difficult. Sometimes it's I end up staying up at night when they all go to bed, and that's when I can really get a block of work done. But I am still searching for that balance, to be honest with you. You know, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, it is a challenge to figure out how to integrate, because I don't know that we're ever in balance by
Yeah.
definition, right? You want to be fully present in those moments where you need to be fully present, for sure.
Yep. We're actually at Okoboji right now, and did a little short family vacation. And so, you know, yesterday we went to Arnold's Park and meeting all over, and I very much concentrated on today's just having fun with them, taking them on rides, letting them have a good time. That's it.
I think they just remodeled the roller coaster up there, didn't they?
Yeah, it was my oldest daughter's first roller coaster,
Oh,
and she was terrified at first, and then she eventually got on and she loved it after that.
love it. I remember those days.
Yeah.
I'm curious about as you build team, you referenced you've got another partner, right?
Mhm.
And building team, what kind of qualities do you look for either in a partner or in employees or the people that you're hiring on for your process of coordinating with the care facilities?
That's a great question. I look for tenacity and a relentless pursuit. And basically somebody who's gonna relentlessly pursue a goal. That's determined. And I also look for people that I don't have to micromanage, you know. I want you to be able to look at a problem, break it down and say, this is how we gotta solve it, you know, and I'm definitely willing to come in and say, you know, here's what I think, here's where I'm looking. But if I gotta solve everything and do everything, we're never gonna get anywhere. So I'm looking for people that can help be a part of a team that becomes a very necessary part of a team. I'm going to date myself here and say Voltron from the 1980s. You know, Voltron didn't form without all the lions. You know, you need all the lions in place to form Voltron, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, how can we form our Voltron? Can we form our company that works extremely well and is very efficient, and nobody's too overworked, but everybody's getting the work that they need to get done.
Nice, nice. I'm curious about your target audience. You talked about retirement homes or care
Yep.
facilities. There's also assisted living, right? So
Yeah. There's 49,000 homes, 29,000 assisted living, 15,000 nursing homes, 4,000 adult daycares. This does not include short-term rehab or independent living. A lot of them need entertainment. They like to have entertainment. And so our target audience right now is those homes, and we're focusing on that market because it's a highly underserved market. But we do eventually want to move beyond just music to scheduling, period. We see the underlying technology that we develop as being very, very important in helping in this future gig economy. And when I say gig economy, I don't mean just music. I mean stuff like DoorDash and Uber and things like that, or working at a restaurant, working a catering job, working events at an arena, that sort of thing. Scheduling is only going to become more and more complex as more and more of the labor force has multiple job opportunities and is working multiple jobs. And that's where we see that down the line, we can come in and solve that problem and help with that sort of schedule, to help people see who is available. We're starting it out with musicians and retirement communities. One, because there's a big need for it. And two, if we're able to coordinate musicians, if we're able to coordinate anybody. I've been a musician my whole life, and we could be finicky.
well, the creative spirit in that side of a person, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Well, obviously you're running a business, and hopefully you're having some fun doing it. What might be some misconceptions that maybe that you had about business, or that you've since learned that you would share with others?
Yeah, going back to how I said I want to find a team that can work together. One of my early misconceptions, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was like 25, I'm 39. One of my early misconceptions was I can only rely on myself. And you, you know what? I have been burned by saying I'm going to rely on other people too. But then again, it's my fault for not looking at the people I was trusting. Right? We, when you are a business owner, it all comes down to you. I had a time where I was in an entertainment business. We were in a band. And one of our guys, his job was to send out posters. Found out he never sent out the posters. Well, I could be mad at him, or I could be mad at myself for not seeing the things in him that might cause him to fall through on them. And what I can take from that is I can then learn and say, well, here's traits I've noticed. And then when I encounter people in the future showing those traits, I can say, I know I can't trust them that with that task. I know I can't trust them with that responsibility. So it's about learning those traits, learning one, you can't do it all. Learning two, being able to read people and understand people, and also taking accountability. If you choose the wrong people and they do something and they mess up, I'm sorry, but you chose it. And you have to take accountability for that and learn how you can change that in the future.
Mhm. Always learning, right? We're always
Yep.
learning. Yeah. I'm curious about if you, as you reference this, what would be the advice that you have for your younger self? If you were to sit down and have a conversation and you'd say, Aaron, younger self, here's what I want you to know.
I would say get into computer programs. um, I would say a number of things. I would say don't look to blame anybody else. Like I was just saying, understand that it's up to you to decide who you're working with and start to understand what they're going through. And be clear on your communications with people, because sometimes we are communicating with people when we think we're saying one thing, but they're hearing another. And they go out and they get the result they think you would expect. And you look at them and go, well, you're not even listening. And then there becomes a conflict and a disconnect there. So learning not only to effectively communicate, but how to understand that you have effectively communicated is a big, big thing. And I think that would really help my younger self. And the other thing I would say is get rid of your sense of urgency. It hurts us too much, especially when I was in my 20s, everything was a hurry. Go, go, go. We got to get to the next thing. We got to get there. And that sense of urgency is the same thing that works against you, because you don't end up plowing the field. You don't end up planting the corn. You don't end up building your house. You don't end up learning a skill that may take months and months and months, because you think, I got to have it now. So I would say, stop with the sense of urgency. That would be another huge thing I would tell my younger self.
Nice. Kind of leads me to maybe a next question from a time management perspective or self-mastery. What thoughts, what have you learned there, and how do you manage that today in your business?
Time management works different for every person. And it's, you know, some people work really well 9 to 5. And there are some days that I do work really well 9 to 5. And I think that the people that work well 9 to 5, every now and then they work really well pulling an all-nighter. It's about understanding that, but also understanding how much rest you need and how alert you are. So time management is a lot about health management, really. It's about being able to get that rest in. And I'm guilty of not doing it. Drinking too much coffee and going, I'm gonna keep working. But it is about, say, again, when it goes back to those little goals I was talking about, by doing those little goals, you can check them off and feel okay about taking a break or stepping away, because you can say, I've got it to this point. All right, I can get some rest, or I can go do this, I can get away, and then I can come back and pick up where I left off.
Helps with the whole idea of focused priorities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. I'm curious about where you see yourself in 5 years, or where you see yourself growing next, if that's something you'd be willing to share.
Yeah, totally. In 5 years, we hope to have a consumer facing product that helps to coordinate schedules. In fact, where we're headed is to a point where, like, even today, how you set up this scheduling with me, it'll be as easy as sharing a text message to coordinate a schedule, because our system and our technology will look at your availability, look at my availability, and say, here's the times that they're available. Pick which one you want. And this will go from working with catering companies to musicians to even families. This is like, the end goal is that my mom doesn't have to spend 3 months planning Christmas with the entire family. We got like 20 people in our family now with all the kids, and it takes forever. It's email, 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 email. With the system we're talking about and what we're trying to develop, she will simply press a button and see the exact date when people are available, book Christmas, and it's done. And that's where we're headed in 5 years. That's where we want to be. We want to be in a place where your way of scheduling with people, and we want to help people free up their time by taking away all the little time that you are looking at your schedule that you don't realize is actually taking time away from your schedule.
Yeah, get rid of the waste, right? So get
Yeah,
efficient. Love it.
exactly.
I love that. I'm curious about the idea that some people start out because they have a dream or a hobby, and yet we need to obviously affect our bottom lines, right? The reason we do things is to make money. I'm
Yeah.
curious about financial management, and what advice might you have for others around the financial management elements of running a business?
Don't do what I did, which is run business on credit cards. I've done that before, and I'm still dealing with debt from that, because you get to this place where it's like, oh, if I have this thing, then I'll make money, then I'll pay off the credit card, right? But what ends up happening is, once you have money, you think about the next thing you can get that can help you make money, and you end up not paying off the credit card. So it's really easy to get in a cycle like that when it comes to finances. Another thing is, all on the flip side of that is, if you need a quality product to get your business going, get that quality product. So let's say you're starting a coffee shop. Don't go out and buy the used coffee maker that needs to be maintenance and stuff like that. Buy the new one with the warranty so that it can get service, because you may end up spending more money on the used one in the long run, or your coffee may not taste as good, and therefore people don't come back to your coffee shop, and therefore your coffee shop fails. A good example of this is when we first started out as a band, and we had really crappy speakers, and then we finally like saved up and got to a place where we had good speakers. But I do feel that we did some damage by playing in public with the poor speakers before we had the good speakers. And had we have just gone back and like I said, you don't necessarily want to buy things on credit card, but you could look at loans, you could look at investors, things that, or maybe just save up. Had we had done that and then started, I think we would have put us in a better position, because we would have had the right equipment, had the things we need to do our job.
Yeah, the experience is the marketing, right? People are going to tell about the experience that they
Yep.
had. That's the story they're going to tell, and we should learn from that. That's
Yeah.
great.
It's,
What?
oh, I was just gonna say, it's a double-edged sword. Like, you need the stuff, but you also need to be wary of how you're doing things,
What else might you suggest, or make sure that anyone that's listening to this as an entrepreneur or business owner could maybe learn from you?
Oh, geez. Keep going. I got into this because I was into music. I wanted to be a full-time musician. I achieved that, and then I kept going because I just like working for myself, and I like to be able to make people happy. And just keep going. It's like, once you find that thing, be tenacious and be relentless. The- And there's the difference between being relentless and being annoying. You, like, there is subtlety there. And so I know there's some people out there that be like, relentless, plug it in. Now go, go, go. There's a difference between, like, if you're selling a product and you're just constantly coming to somebody's door, that's probably not going to work. But in the same vein, if I'm going to somebody's door and it's not working, I'm going to look and say, well, why isn't it? What can I change about this? What can I change about my tact? How can I change how I'm approaching the person to make them more receptive to what it is I'm trying to sell? Yeah.
It sounds like you have a built-in reflective discernment process into the different stages of where you've been. So even there's value in protecting space to do that with
Yeah.
either yourself or your partners.
Yeah, I think it's always good to sit back and say and reflect on, okay, what did I do? How did it go? Right. Um, you can't always record meetings or things like that, but if you can, listen back and reflect. If you're doing it one with a partner, try to talk to each other about how it went. And also try to get fluff out of the way too, because it's really easy to be like, you did a great job, you did a great job, we're really awesome. Meanwhile, the business is tanking because you're sitting there patting each other on the back the whole time instead of really digging into maybe this pitch meeting didn't go well. Maybe this talk didn't go well. Maybe people aren't understanding what we're communicating. We have run into issues with musicians where we're saying, well, let's look back at how we're communicating to them. Okay, now we're going to put a policy in place about our communication. It's going to go in steps now, like an understanding and being able to see and reflect on how it's working. Is it working for us? Are we doing right? And being able to be harsh with ourselves and being willing to let other people that you work with be harsh with you, because it's not about how good you feel. It's about the business doing well.
Good advice. Good advice. Well, bravo. That wasn't so hard, was it?
It was wonderful. I had a great time.
I'm just curious, and this isn't necessarily wouldn't be included. I'm just curious, what are you working on now that you're trying to solve, or what's in front of you, right? That you're trying to figure out.
I'm actually the lead programmer on the application. I taught myself how to program and I've been programming. So right now I'm finishing up the program and we will be hopefully launching it by the end of this week. I got a few more algorithms to work on and then we'll be releasing it into the wild for people to work with.
Love it. Love it. And how about what's your marketing strategies? How are you finding the need and filling the need out there in those geographic territories that you described?
Well, we are approaching several of the corporate level and talking to them, but we're also talking from the ground level. So we are contacting activity directors in different cities and talking to them. We're approaching musicians unions and universities about the musicians working in the program, those who want to. And we're developing a mentorship program that allows younger musicians or people that are new to performing in retirement homes to work with a veteran musician that they can shadow them. They can make sure they have all the 22 songs set. We say takes about an hour and change, and a sound system, transportation, and then we set them up at lower paying homes, just like state run homes that don't have a lot of money. And they do about 3 shows there before they're released into the program. And so we have that mentorship program as well. And those mentors actually earn money through doing mentorship. So that's also another, we consider that marketing, because somebody could actually go to a new city and break an entire city and earn money, a good amount of money doing that. So that's part of our strategy for marketing, is to, like we talked about earlier, empowering individuals to go do it themselves.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then having the processes in place.
Yep.
Yeah. So right now, I know you're in Okoboji. You reside in
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha. Yeah. Very good.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Well,
What about you? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I actually reside in Sioux City, so you referenced this
Oh,
market.
yeah.
We could open up some relationships there for sure. And we have people, we have some folks in Okoboji, in the Lakes area, right there, over in the Quad Cities. And
Yeah.
then they asked if we would consider coming into the Omaha market. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to meet people there, right? This is a way for
Great.
us to meet business owners and to show the model that we use, that is a proven model for 30 years. It actually was created over in Australia. And so we're a global company. And I'm actually one of the global trainers. So that's cool to,
That's
meet
awesome.
in South Africa and Belgium and other places. But point being is, folks can pretty much use the model that we've got and accelerate the way they do business so that their business can run without them. Now, they don't have to, but it's a choice to be able to, just as you said, invest in your people, invest in your processes, put
No,
all this in place for passive income to get on to whatever next you want to do.
I'm always willing to look at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sioux City, have you talked to the guy that runs, what's the major coffee shop up there? I'm forgetting it. See, I used to play Sioux City all the time. I've been there a
Okay.
lot. And we actually run a few houses up there.
Sure.
And so Barry Trunk is one of our musicians up there. He teaches out of college and he plays for the symphony up there. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Nice. Stone Brew is the growing one.
That's it. That's
Okay.
it. Stone Brew. I know the owner. I forget his name. I got him on my phone, but great guy. He's about my age. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And that part of it is just creating that network where we can learn from each other, and a little bit different than being a part of a chamber or a part of
Yep.
a networking group. It's actually how do we conduct business together, and that's what we're looking to build in Omaha as well. So we've got a couple events coming up. Well, here's what we'd like to do. We'd love to offer you an opportunity just to learn a little bit more about what we do, and maybe get set up some referrals for you and vice versa. Coach Carter is actually going to be down there on Thursday. And we've got another event coming up. I think they said this morning it's August 3rd. So we would love to invite you to either a one-on-one between now and then, or come to that event if that interests you and your partner.
Send me information on the August 3rd one.
Okay.
So I'm pretty busy until then.
Okay. So we will do that when they get that information put together, and we'll make sure that we'll get you invited. I think they're going to do it at a coffee shop because they've tested and measured a brewery after work and a coffee shop in the morning. And it seems like there's more interest in a coffee shop, but we need to keep testing and measuring just like you do, right? What works and what can we do to be even more effective, for sure.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. So Aaron is probably going to be with the holiday in there. When the editor gets this all set up, we'll make sure and get that for you, put there out there on your YouTube or wherever you want to put it, and let the world know and learn from you. How's that?
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Enjoy Okoboji. There's so much to do up there. I'm glad you're having fun.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
Okay. Take good care.